Terraria is a popular 2D game, made out of pixels. But what if it doesn't have to be? What if we could make a 3D rendition of the Terraria world through illustrations, where I'll be illustrating every single biome that can be found in a regular Terraria world with a more realistic look. We started off with the forest biome, now it's time to enter the depths of the underground. I'm jpallgraphic, and let's get started. In today's part, we will illustrate the underground in 3 chapters: the general cavescape, the spider nest, and the Aether biome. Let's start off with the general cavescape. Initially, this artwork was supposed to showcase a general view of the underground, a massive cavernous area, inspired from Terraria's underground backgrounds, with patches of dirt and stone around the place, ore veins dotted about, and a minecart rail levitating above all of it, with the player as the main focus point. But instead, I made this sketch. You can still see some aspects of my initial description, except for the fact that I went for something more enclosed. Anyway, here's some cave spikes, then some red and blue patches. These signify where I'll put the stone patches and ore veins. Just ignore them because they were never really useful. I even added this orange hanging thing on the cave ceiling. The orange bloodroot, still in its sketch form. Now, grayscale. Life crystal first, then the cave. Minecart rails next, then the minecart. Yes, I'm aware that it is balancing on one metallic bar, so let's quickly deal with that by adding another metallic bar and some sleepers. Let's finish the grayscale segment of this artwork by adding some ore veins, dirt patches, and stalagmites. Now, it's detail time. I'll layer the cave floor with a generous amount of fuzzy luminescent moss. Then I turned this patch, that was supposed to be stone, into some gravelly, dirty dirt, because I realized that moss only grows on stone in Terraria, so yeah. Then I slowly rockified the life crystal by adding some cracks and giving the heart a rougher shape, just like the life crystal sprite, which is basically a raw crystal, but glowing. And with raw crystals, they come with a rough texture. And with that, it's coloring time. Some neon green luminescent moss, a depressing patch of brown soil, and the life crystal with a passionate red. But that's not enough. Back to the life crystal, I gave it a luminescent aura by adding some glow, some interior luminescence, and a white pulsating heart that radiates out of it. Now it's pink. In the meantime, I dealt with the ores, the tungsten and copper ore veins. Now, they may look like lazily put additions where I scattered some color and details all over the place, which it totally is, but let's refine some bits and see what the entire bottom section looks like when the cave ambience finally sets in. Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. With that out of the way, it's time for the minecart tracks. It was pretty simple. I just followed the design of the Terraria sprites and incorporated them into the illustration. And what's that? That's the player. I gave it a torch with some cool lighting effects, and since it looks weird to just have a floating torch fire, I colored the player and incorporated it with the lighting. And speaking of lighting, the bottom part of the rails gets some cool green lighting from the moss below. With that out of the way, I started dealing with the exit tunnel of the player. The plan was to have a torch in this spot, lighting up the surrounding walls of the tunnel. First off, it looked like the player was escaping from the profane flames of Temple of Providence. Then, I made it worse. So I ignored it in the meantime, and dealt with this patch of cave wall, adding some spots of green light that came from the moss. And with that, came a complete rehaul of this part of the cave. Now it looks more earthy. That warm orange glow illuminating the brown, gravelly compacted soil of the underground. And I feel like it's important to mention silver ore and gold ore. Now it's time to finish the artwork with some refinements and additions. More cave lighting coming from this direction, a spinning ninja snail, some bats, that orange bloodroot that I told you in the beginning, an actual snail, some spores, and various other additions that turned the artwork from this to this. This artwork showcases a more fantastical view of the underground, a combination of various underground elements into one cohesive artwork. The life crystal pulsing with elegant life-giving beauty, the glowing moss complementing perfectly with the life crystal's color, all the elements, mobs, ores, cave, all in the player's interest, traveling through the underground. The start of development. This artwork will feature the spider nest, a seemingly underwhelming biome with annoying spiders filled with murderous intent. It may not seem interesting, but let's try and prove it wrong. First, the sketch. I sketched the form of the nest, basically just a general cavernous formation, with a chest as the main focus point, and multiple spiderwebs dotted about, these two being the main ones. And because I think unnecessary planning is useful, I shaded some areas where I'll be putting the spiders and ores. Let's start off by grayscaling the caves. To then forming the webs, the ones with the actual web shapes, and the stranded variations. After that, I added some spiders and those spider pots. Now, it's time for some Mission Impossible madness. The player's duty is simple: retrieve the goods and exit unscathed. Step 1. Glow sticks. They illuminate the area and can be thrown around to get a wider luminescent view than torches. Now, with the chest below the player, the mission goes as planned. Step 2. Never mind. Apparently the chest is now in the foreground, and it's being detailed. It's now web covered. Step 3. Now you also have to save this woman wrapped up by some webs. That was the chest a while ago. Well, the plan has been changed. You now have to retrieve 2 things. Okay, that's enough. So I started to leech the glow sticks illumination onto the surroundings. The webs, the stylus, and the ground. Along with this, I added more spider pots and gave them their gross and webby appearance. And after a bit more web-related details, it's time to color the long-awaited hero that nobody asked for, the player. Now rocking in some tungsten armor. But oh no, the retrieval mission is not so easy, cause there are spiders. Spiders the size of the Terraria player. And to finish off this artwork, I decided to add some warm lighting emanating from the tunnel and framing the character's descent. This artwork showcases what the spider nest would look like in a more realistic setting. A seemingly underwhelming mini biome, now looking a bit more dramatic and gross. Something that you'll probably ignore unless you're collecting some cobwebs or spider fangs. By the way, before we continue, the underground part of this series will be split into 2 parts. The second part will reveal the glowing mushroom, marble, and granite biomes, finishing off the underground segment of this series. This artwork showcases what a more realistic Aether biome would look like, with an interesting addition. Now, in-game, the Aether mini biome is just a massive lake of translucent liquid shimmer. Surrounding it are some gem trees, with shimmer slimes and phalanx being the unique creatures that spawn within this biome. The lake is good and all, but why don't we add a waterfall? Let's just not question its source. I started off by sketching the important elements of the Aether biome into the artwork. Lake, gem trees, phalanx, plus my own additions such as a cliff, and of course, the Aether waterfall. With the rough sketching out of the way, I colored each part of the artwork in grayscale. And what you may be realizing is, this looks way too simple. And that's because it is. Most, if not all of the background elements are going to be covered in complete darkness, with stars filling the void, making it look like a night sky. A unique ambience in the Aether. Furthermore, the Aether biome in Terraria is honestly pretty simple. An oval-shaped enclosure with 2 tunnels on both ends leading into the biome. Anyway, it's failing time, and the cliff details. With that sorted, I dealt with the night sky. A scattering of stars makes the uncomfortable darkness a bit more ethereal. Continuing from that, I added more trees to the background, all with less opacity, and started to color the shimmer. Now, the shimmer in Terraria has 2 layers. The top layer of the liquid shimmer is a swirling rainbow, with the rest of the liquid below being pure light purple. Since we are only able to see the top layer, I added a bunch of colorful bright swirly hues into the lake and waterfall. I also colored the shimmer slimes as well. Now, I would like to think that the lake is a fractal swirly liquid mess. I think this could help bring out more of its ethereal look. So I grabbed 2 images off of pixels and incorporated them into the lake and the slimes. In the meantime, I added some sparkle to the lake, incorporated the lighting onto the cliff, and added some glow and sparkle to the waterfall. With most of the details in place, I dealt with the trees. Now, gem trees in Terraria are just like any other tree in game. Long thin pole with branches on the top with a canopy. As for my illustration, they're inspired from sakura trees, specifically the ones with curvy trunks and branches, and flowers that droop from the canopies. I finished these off by adding some lighting. And lastly, the failings. This artwork showcases an ethereal part of the underground, a resplendent treasure hidden within the depths, showcasing the shimmer in its glistening fractal beauty. An otherworldly sight, seemingly from another plane of existence. And there we have it, the next few artworks of our Illustrating the Terraria World series, the underground. The minecart tracks, the highway of the depths, the spider cave, a showcase of tenacity, and the Aether, an otherworldly sight with a shimmer of fantastical capabilities.